Hello everybody, welcome back to another Weather Central forecast. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Now in today's video we will be going over kind of the exact same stuff that we went over yesterday, just updated runs like I said in the last videos. I will be making a upload later tonight on this same system, just updated 18Z model, because I'm going to be looking at the 6Z because the 12Z hasn't come out yet. But I do want to start off with a disclaimer that these forecasts are my opinion. They are based off of model guidance and past occurrences of weather. For the most accurate and up-to-date weather, please consult your local National Weather Service office, as they will have more accurate and up-to-date information than I will, especially on these major systems like this severe weather possible outbreak. I hope you guys do enjoy this forecast. So let's go ahead and go over to my preliminary look at this system. And yeah. So here is my updated outlook from this. A little bit has changed since last night. We have a little bit of a wider rain snow mix, as that's what models this morning were indicating. We also do have a smaller region of thunderstorms throughout these regions here, just because Cape values weren't looking great throughout those areas. We also have a wider expansion of the severe weather that's extending all the way down into parts of Florida as well. As we were seeing some of this moisture try to dig down even farther south and east, and we had Cape values, shear, and helicity, and vorticity, and almost everything ingredients needed for severe weather was making its way down there, as well as Florida usually does see those ingredients quite often. And we also are seeing those really warm conditions. Obviously, this has been the talk for a while, but these warm conditions off to the east, excluding the western half of the United States, still seeing those cooler conditions, and this will be the track of our low here. It'll be moving north and east as we saw in the last videos, and it will join up with some moisture from Canada, and it'll just create a bunch of precipitation throughout these areas here, even on that secondary wave as well. So let's go ahead and go over to the models. Okay, so here we are on the GFS precipitation type. Obviously, this is our low that is going to be creating this moisture down into the United States. We have this moisture up associated with this low into parts of Canada, and you can see that tries to move eastward, and it joins up with the low down from the United States. Let's move this on just a little bit more. You can see we're seeing kind of like a transfer of energy from this low trying to join up with this low over here before it makes its way out of Canada onto the coast. And this is also going to set up the stage for a secondary wave of kind of like squall line thunderstorms moving south and east. So let's move this model on and see what the setup for this is. So you can see that moves away. We're having some moisture on the southern end of that, digging down into Kansas, into parts of Oklahoma. We're having this Gulf moisture getting injected, and we're seeing a cold front moving in, and we're seeing some very warm conditions throughout these regions. So that is going to set up the stage as well for this thunderstorms to occur. You can see some very heavy precip into parts of Missouri and Illinois. If we move this on, you can see that it concentrates over into parts of northwestern Ohio, into parts of northeastern Indiana, and then it kind of is really stationary throughout those regions. It doesn't really want to move too far south. It's trying to dump a bunch of moisture throughout these regions, which could cause for some flash flooding. We can look at precipitable water in just a second to kind of check that out. You can see that higher concentration moves into parts of Missouri, into central Missouri, into parts of eastern Kansas, into parts of central Illinois, into central Indiana. That kind of, like I said, it's really stationary. We get some very heavy precip into parts of southeastern Kansas, into the western half of Missouri. And then it kind of digs down farther south. We have this cold front right here, which is allowing for that to change to snow, but we're still seeing some 50s over in here, possibly some lower 60s, as a couple or like 100-ish miles away, or no, probably like 300 or 400 miles away, you're seeing that snow. So that's a very sharp temperature decrease. That's because we're seeing such a strong cold front move its way through while this system is in play. You can see it tries to change all of it to snow, but once it gets to the eastern half of Kansas, it really just doesn't do much. And then it transitions into snow into parts of Illinois, and tries to transition into ice and sleet into parts of southern Pennsylvania throughout those regions. And then it moves its way into the northeast, and we're possibly seeing a nor'eastern. It looks like it has a snowier side to this, Let's go ahead and move this back. So, I mean, it's right on the coast, right off of, the northeast. So it does look like a typical nor'eastern, and it does look to bring some snow. So this is also the second system that we're going to want to watch out for after this first major system is done throughout severe weather. We might have a nor'eastern on our hands throughout these regions right here. So let's definitely keep an eye on that. So let's go ahead and move over to surface-based CAPE. So here we are for CAPE. And right now we're not looking at much CAPE. This is March 9th. We're not looking at any CAPE throughout the United States, just maybe an isolated amount of 100-ish down into parts of southern Texas, but that's not going to be enough to cause much of anything. If we move this on just one frame, around 3 hours, this is 6 o'clock by March 9th. Oops, I moved it back again. This is 6 o'clock by March 9th. We're seeing a concentration of over 500 joules of CAPE throughout parts of southeastern Nebraska. It's going to be enough to cause some thunderstorms throughout those regions, and maybe just some isolated thunderstorms just farther down south into parts of central Kansas. But once you get farther south and your CAPE becomes less than 200, you're not looking at any chance of thunderstorms, most likely. We're going to move this on another frame. You can see a higher concentration moves into parts of southeastern Nebraska once again. That's just almost exceeding 1,000 joules of CAPE. And then it kind of dies off. We see this squall line of where that secondary wave of thunderstorms will be, and that's throughout parts of Kansas into parts of Oklahoma, seeing their CAPE values just over 750. And then once we move this frame on more, we're looking at 6 o'clock on March 10th. We're seeing a lot of CAPE extending in kind of a squall line where we see over 1,250 joules of CAPE on this Kansas and Oklahoma border. Now, this has been very consistent with these newer model runs. The CAPE values have been concentrated right here, so that's why I'm having even more confidence that this is going to be a real event, and it's going to most likely be into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. On the southern end of Kansas and northern end of Oklahoma, we see some of that dig down into parts of southern Oklahoma, getting over 1,000 joules. And a good region of thunderstorms likely extends down into parts of central Texas. And then that CAPE grows even more. We get over 1,500 in some areas, and then it tries to move eastward into Missouri. It looks like it's starting to do that, unlike models have been showing. Maybe enough to produce a couple severe thunderstorms throughout these regions right here. And we're also seeing, some possible isolated thunderstorms throughout these regions right here, where you're seeing those CAPE values just over 200. And then like I said, it tries to move into Missouri. It doesn't really do a great job towards the end of this smaller run, which only goes at 126 hours. You might see some CAPE getting into Missouri, which will cause for some thunderstorms as well. So let's go ahead and move over to Helicity and see what they are showing. So here we are with Helicity. Basically, Helicity is the updraft in the storm. So the higher amount of Helicity, the higher amount of updraft, which is going to cause some more supercellular development and even some isolated tornadoes. So we see if we move this on, this is hour 63. This is 8 o'clock on Tuesday. We're seeing some of that updraft starting to make its way into parts of Texas, extending up into parts of Nebraska, but it's not looking like enough to produce much. And then this is where it starts to get interesting. Hour 66 from now, we're seeing some of those updrafts get into parts of, once again, southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma. Kind of seems to be the jackpot so far for this system. And then if we move this on just one more frame, we're seeing very, very strong updrafts throughout these regions right here, into parts of central, southern, and northern Kansas, into parts of some of the panhandle of Texas, seeing those very strong updrafts in the storms. And then it's going to move its way over just a little farther eastward than advertised as of last night. And you're seeing some stronger concentrations into parts of northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas. I feel like I'm saying that every time because that's just what the models are showing right now. You're seeing some very strong updrafts make its ways into parts of Missouri, especially concentrated in parts of like Harrison, Arkansas, extending down into parts, around Dallas, just west of Dallas, seeing those strong updrafts. And then you can see it it really sticks around for parts of Missouri a little bit, which is leading me to believe that, we'll see some stronger Cape values being indicated in the near smaller runs, or this could just be an outlier, the helicity values in the updrafts. This could just be an outlier, but I do have, you know, I do have belief that some of these regions over here will be seeing severe weather too. So let's go ahead and switch our view over to vorticity, and we'll see what that is showing. Okay, so vorticity didn't want to show up again. Last video I tried to pull it up too, but it's not loading. So we are going to be looking at supercell composites. Basically, if your supercell composite is above 1, you're looking at, a good chance of a low-end EF0. If it approaches 4, you're looking at a good chance of supercellular development, which will almost 50% of the time it causes tornadoes. So we'll move this on to, we're seeing supercell composites of 3. So it's looking like possibly a decent tornado event out of this, if this does verify, and it's concentrated more in a specific area rather than a wide area, where this, supercell composite is 3 throughout like about 12-ish hours, 2 to 3. So that's really making me believe that some of these areas here, as of now, could be concentrated with some isolated tornadoes throughout those regions. We'll move this on, see if anything else happens. Ooh, wow. So down to the parts of southern Texas. Let's see what that's showing. Here, I need to clear that. Supercell composites of 5 up to 6. So that is looking to be very promising throughout for tornadic development throughout those regions, throughout here. So we're just going to have to keep an eye out on this, as, this could be a very impactful event throughout those regions. So if you guys did enjoy this forecast, I will be making more updates on this system as we get closer to it. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.